Hi everyone, it's me again. Today I'm going to talk about some general study tips for Math 102. Also, I connected some questions from students that we're going to answer. I invited three other Math 102 TA. They are currently teaching this course during summer. So let's just let them say hi to everyone. So
Hello,
Hello.
you guys want to introduce yourself a bit?
I'm Assad. I'm in fourth year, and I'm a TA for this course.
I'm Daria. I just graduated with a major in math, and I've TA'd this course many times.
I'm Paul. I'm third year, so I'm the new one here.
Okay, so let's just start with a question. So the first question I got from a student is, what are your opinions on Math 102? I guess I'll start answer and then we can go around. So for 102, this is actually my favorite math course, and I found it really, really interesting. It's actually the reason I switched to math major. I personally think people suffer from this course only because of the post requirements. They were they got too much pressure for getting above 80 or something. But I think if students can forget about the mark they have to get and try to enjoy the course, it's actually a really fun course.
All right.
Going off, I
Do you want to? Yeah, go ahead, Dari.
the reason I want to say is because I have something similar to Ling, which is again similar to Ling. I was also life sciences, and the reason I switched into math major was 102. So it's literally we have a very similar experience from this course. I feel it's my favorite math course at UTM, and it's after taking math 102 that I decided to switch into a math major. I feel like it lets you like think differently, and you find like it's a very good introduction to university math. So I really, really, really like this course.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. This course teaches you most of the tools that you'll be using. It like gives you a basic introduction to writing proofs, which you'll be doing a lot of past like third year.
Well, I mean, like you're gonna have to take this course whether you like it or not. But I find that like there's a portion of the students really hate this course because they're trying to get into CS or whatever, and they're like, why do I have to learn all this crap? While the other half is like actually into this stuff, and I don't know. Trying to like make yourself fit into the other half that actually enjoys this course. It might help you here because well, you learn better what you enjoy learning. So
Hmm.
I completely agree with that. So, the second question we got is, why do you think people find this course hard?
Well, it goes back to this course needs to be a certain level of hard because it's a post requirement, and also it's a completely new type of math, right? Like most high school curriculums don't cover proofs at all, and so learning
I
proofs is pretty hard, and it's something that takes a lot of practice and more practice than learning computations.
feel like it's just like most a lot of people just they don't know what they're doing, but they're doing it anyway,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that won't really work here
yeah,
because
true.
we're testing you on what you understand,
Mm.
and you should be able to write your own proofs, like explain your own logic and stuff.
I totally agree with Paul and Asad. I think a lot of students tend to memorize math when we were in high school, and they actually got away from it because like memorizing might actually be helpful for high school math as it's just computation. But this course, you actually need to understand the material in order to do well. And I guess people find suffer from this course because they're a year away of studying math that don't work anymore. I do think this course focus a lot of like understanding and mathematically thinking. if you don't really understand the material, you just memorize what you don't understand, you're not going to do well. It's really important to make sure you thoroughly understand the materials. Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree
Yeah.
with that. Like, I think students have a feeling of following a certain pattern in high school. They see a certain question and they just repeat that same thing instead of stopping to think, why does this work a certain way? And in Math 102, it's probably the first time that that method of learning will not work. It's not just sufficient to understand a certain proof. It's that's just like not enough at all. You have to understand why did we do a certain proof a certain way and be able to come up with it on your own. So if you could, like when you see the solution, you'll be like, yeah, that's simple, that makes sense. But can you come up with it on your own? That's a whole different thing. And that's what students struggle with a lot. And that's probably because, they're not used to thinking of why does something work and, used to like kind of memorizing, as Lynn said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyone want to add anything to it?
It's also like there's a lot of different types of proofs, and there's a lot of techniques that you have to kind of learn on the go. Because two different proof problems tend to be pretty different if you just choose to at random.
Yeah. So our third question is, where do you think is the most difficult part of the course?
I think learning to write proofs is probably the hardest part. Because if you're taking the course with Marina, then you have to pretty much learn that in the first week. And you have to learn that through doing inequalities proofs, which can be a little weird. And if you're taking the course with Mike, then yeah, you still have to learn about, I think, well, you have to learn how to do proofs very early on either way.
Mm-hmm.
All of it is pretty hard.
Yeah.
But honestly, like I when I took it, I thought inequalities were the worst part of it because, well, there's so many different ways to manipulate them that it's kind of hard to like exhaust all the possible methods of proving inequalities.
Yeah, there's
Especially
also a
during
lot
a
of rules you
quiz
have to
when there's like
learn.
only 30 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I agree with Paul. I would say inequality is pretty hard. I mean, if Marina is coordinating this course, inequality might be the hardest part, because like the material itself is not so intuitive, and it's like covered at the very beginning of this class. But generally speaking, I think cardinality is the most difficult part of the whole course. Um, yeah, I think like for inequality, when people learn it for the first time, they don't really know where to start. And when they see the solution, they were like, oh, how did you come up with this? It seems like magic to me. Like, how did you magically know what to do exactly? So this part of the course actually requires some intuition, which is really hard to get. But I personally think the only way to get the intuition is by practicing a lot. Once you did finished a lot of questions, you somehow get what you need to do, like when you see the question. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for the whole course as a whole, like when you take it in its entirety, the hardest part is probably learning how to write a proof properly. And that's something students struggle with a lot because they don't really know how to write their logic properly, what's the flow of the logic, how much to write, how little to write. These are things that students often struggle with, and which is where people lose a lot of marks. So you learn it as you go. It's something that you get constant feedback on and you keep improving. And our hope is by the end of the course that you're very good at it. And as for a particular topic itself, I feel like we've already scared you about inequalities. I feel like inequalities is the hardest in the sense conceptually it's kind of easy to understand. But when you're actually doing the question, when you're doing the computation, trying to get it, it can be tricky. And as Ling said, it gets better with practice, so it's not like a scary thing. If you do a lot of practice, it becomes much easier.
Yeah. Okay, so our fourth question is, what's the difference between Marina's version of 102 and Mike's version of 102? Anyone wanna
Mike's
answer?
is harder.
What a definitive statement on the top. I don't know if Mike's is.
Well, I mean, like his homework questions are definitely harder than
Oh yeah,
Marina's.
yeah,
Uh, I don't know. His quizzes are probably like slightly easier than Marina's, but I think it's quite subjective because his quiz questions are more abstract. I guess it's not like something you can just pull out of a textbook.
yeah. His quiz questions tend to be a little more like wild card, but it's uh like I think they are easier just by a little bit than Marina's quiz
They are easy
questions.
if you like thoroughly understand the course material.
I feel
Yeah,
like Mike and yeah. Go ahead, Asad.
and then other than that, Mike has like rearranged the course. So like sets and logic are covered a lot earlier, and I don't think fields are covered in Mike's version of the course.
Yeah, they removed fields.
Yeah, but I don't know if that makes it harder or easier, honestly.
I feel like it's a very subjective thing, like which
Yeah.
version you prefer. They both have a different approach for sure. They take a different approach to the course. I feel like, as they said, Mike has rearranged the course as opposed to what Marina has been doing so far, and he's taken out fields. He also kind of tries to incorporate some CS-related examples or more, how do I say, more applied. It's not even applied. It's like less abstracty than what the kind of examples Marina uses, if that makes sense. So the problem sets tend to look very different from what Marina has been doing. And I know students who prefer both. Prefer like either. Like I know some students prefer Mike's over Marina's, and some students prefer Marina's version over Mike's. So it's all like a personal choice. So you have to, like, it is different, and you have to like see it for yourself. How is it different?
Yeah.
Yeah, as they all mentioned, I do think the two versions are quite different, honestly. I think Mike's version focused more on, I don't know. I think Mike's version is more like you learn something new here, and he really want you to use this to apply to something new.
Mm-hmm.
For Mike's version, I'm like almost 100% sure that you'll see something you've never seen before on the quiz or the problem set because he really wants you to understand the material and then apply it to something new. Another thing is I think Mike will prepare you better for computer science because he thinks like most of the students in this course are CS students. So they try to make the whole course more CS friendly. But Marina's version would prepare you like much better for upper your math courses, I would say. Because she really want to make sure you know how to write a proof properly. Also, as the other TAs mentioned, I do think Mike's problem sets are much harder than Marina's problem sets, but I think his quizzes are much easier than Marina's quizzes. Uh, I don't know. I think I've seen people, like as Daria said, I've seen people prefer like either one. So it's really your own option. I don't think you get to choose that much since, well, you can't really pick the coordinator. So it's like,
I mean, sometimes they can. If they're deciding between should I do it in the fall or should I do it in the winter, and they know one of the coordinators is for fall and one is for winter. If you are ever in that situation, then maybe you do get a choice.
Yeah, but most of the time, like, you have to be so quick with picking the course because it's already full by like after 5 minutes of
That's it.
course enrollment being open.
I honestly don't think it should have like that much of an impact in like whether you're going to take it in fall or winter. Because
Fair
in the
enough.
end, I think the difficulty is still about the same.
actually similar
Yeah.
for both versions.
Uh,
Actually, I think the average one Mike's coordinator is actually higher than what Marina's coordinating.
I mean, Mike coordinated in fall session, so I mean, like the people in fall usually just go away after one take.
It was actually much higher, I mean the quizzes the average of the quizzes was much, much higher than Marina's quizzes. I don't know, but we'll see. Yeah. Anyway, the fifth question is, which prof would you recommend?
So for me personally, I didn't do the Mike version or the Marina version. I studied it when Ali was coordinating, but that was like similar to Marina's version, and I really enjoyed it a lot. So it's kind of like same like Marina's version, I would say. And I feel like taking that version really prepared me very well for like upper year math courses. But as to TA, like I've TA'd for Mike, I've TA'd when Marina coordinated, I've TA'd when TJ coordinated. And I think all of them have like their strengths and they're like really good profs. And it's at the end of the day, it's just a personal call. It's I don't think I can't recommend for you because each prof student prefers a certain way to a course. So you really have to, if you ever get the choice to choose who you want to take the course with, try to see the materials they have, try to see, talk to students who took the courses with them, and maybe your decision will differ depending on whether you want to go into CS or depending on whether you want to go into math. So yeah, it's a very subjective opinion and you have to make that decision for yourself, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's really up to you. I've seen people really like this prof while other people really hate this prof. It happens a lot of time. But generally speaking, I think all the professors in teaching stream are pretty good. If you check the UTM math website, you'll see like the professors who are in teaching stream. But if I have to pick top three professors, I mean the top three professors who's usually teaching this course, I would say Shai, Marina, and Ali. For Shai, he is the author of the course notes we're using right now, and he is the one who designed the whole course at the very beginning. So he's like the father of Math 102. I'm pretty sure he knows the material very, very, very well. For Marina, she's been teaching and coordinating this course for many years. It was like always her. And she really knows the course like inside out. I would say she's really experienced and she would know where students struggle the most. And she's really nice and approachable. So go to office hours, ask for help. For Ali, I think he might be the most chill professor. I mean, most chill math professor at UTM. Although he smokes and vape a lot, you might even like hear him vaping the whole time if you're taking the online course with him, because that's what I heard. But he's actually really good at teaching, and he can explain the concepts very well. There are a lot of other really good professors, but I can't speak for all of them because like a lot of them I've never had any courses with them, so I can't really comment on that. But generally speaking, all the teaching stream professors are pretty good.
I don't have any comment because I haven't taken a course with any of those professors.
Any of them?
No, none of them. But
Damn.
I mean, I've only finished second year so far, but just a tip that you can always attend different lectures if you want to.
Yeah,
Different from the one you're enrolled in.
Yeah, I think that's a good point because like for 102, you have different lecture sections. So even if you picked this professor like at this time, if you don't like his lecture or her lecture, you can actually go to some other lecture sections and just go to the one you like the most. So it's not that important at the time you're enrolling in the course. So well, just pick your favorite.
Especially when it's online, like it's much easier to attend.
Especially if it's online, it doesn't really matter. You can, if you want to, you can even attend all the lecture sessions and all the tutorial sections, or if you have much time.
Which students have done, by the way. There are students I know who have done that. They
I had students who went to every single one of tutorial sections as well. Yeah. So you can do that if you really want to. Anyway, so our next question is, I feel like I spent a lot of time on this course, but I still couldn't do well. What do you think I should do?
Office hours?
Of course,
Yeah. You should always use
talk
office
to
hours.
someone.
Yeah. Either TA or professor office hours. I feel like they don't get used enough. I mean, like
I
they're available for the sole purpose of helping people with the course who are struggling. Um, and like it's not office hours isn't just for people who understand the material very well, and you know it's for everybody, including if you're really struggling and you need like an extra push to help you get along.
And I agree with that. Like, I feel like students do a lot of practice. I've seen students spending hours and hours on this course. And first issue that I find when they do a lot of practice is they see a proof, they're like, okay, I understand how this proof works. And they find similar questions and just mindlessly do the same method over and over again. So if you do that kind of like that, you're not really learning something new. So you have to try to do different types of questions where you will have to think differently. So just don't like repeat what you already know, which is a common mistake, I feel. And second, as everybody said, is utilizing officers. So get feedback on what you have done. That's so important. I've seen people do a lot of practice questions come to me and everything they did is kind of incorrect. So all the hours that they put in is kind of not in the right, was not beneficial to them. So it's important that you get feedback early on, like when you do a new kind of question, get feedback. Like, is this how it should work? Is this how I should write a proof? Does my logical flow make sense? And get feedback. And so this, if it's online, you probably, there's like Piazza, some semesters, then you can email your TAs and profs. We have office hours, and these are very, very underutilized. I've run office hours where there's maybe 1 or 2 students, and some weeks there's nobody. And they're very, very underutilized. So when I took this course, I used to literally go to office hours every week and meet with my TA. And I think that really helped me. So really, really use that these days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So our next question is, how many hours do you think I should dedicate to this course per week?
I guess it really depends on you. Some people have to spend a lot of hours, some people don't have to spend as much. So you should know how you study well. You should learn to manage your time well. So after like week 1 or week 2 of the course, and after like the first problem set of quiz, you'll have like a really good idea of how well you're coping with it. So like take feedback from how you're doing in the class to increase or decrease time. You usually never have to decrease time spent studying as needed. Tip I can say is you should never procrastinate. Like, this is not a course where you can wait till the day before the quiz or the test and do well. You have to be organized and study the course as we are teaching you the order. Like, be at the top of your game. Like, you have to stay organized. You can't learn.
Don't procrastinate on your problem sets.
Yeah, do not.
Yeah.
Not a good idea.
Do not do that.
It happens.
A lot of the
A
material
lot
you
of like
just
students just submit it. Oh, sorry. You go ahead.
yeah, it takes a while for this material to sink in, so it's good to do it like understand it well in advance before you try a problem set.
Yeah, I
All right,
agree.
go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, it's just like I see a lot of students just submit it like on the minute of due, and I don't think that's what you're supposed to be doing. A lot of like those problem set questions are meant for you to like. Okay, I don't know how to explain it, but you're supposed to like look at the questions and think about it over a period of time instead of just doing the whole problem set in one sitting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And I think that's
Especially
yeah. Go ahead, Lindsay.
especially if you're taking the course with Mike, it's really, really important to start ahead of time, because like his problem sets are designed to, for you to spend a lot of time on this. So if you're gonna start on the last day, I don't think you will do well. I highly doubt that.
There are some people who are like really OP and who can just start it on the last day, but that's something you learn about yourself if you are that kind of person. And at the beginning, when you don't know like how hard this course actually is going to be for you, it's best to just assume the worst and not procrastinate.
Yeah.
And this is something common you'll see in all upper year courses, especially in the MCS department, where your assignments, especially like in math, CS, and I think even in stats, you're supposed to spend a lot of time thinking. It's not like, oh, I just do it in half an hour last minute. No, you're supposed to think about it. It's designed to let you test, like, can you come up with new ways, kind of like that. So you have to spend time on them. So it's good practice for future courses also.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so our next question is, what's your favorite part of this course?
Who wants to go first?
I have a short answer. I can go.
There's so many to choose from.
Yeah, I love everything like that. I don't have a favorite part. I love this course. Absolutely love this course, and I love every aspect of it.
I would say my favorite parts are fields and cardinality. I was quite upset when Mike removed fields from MAT102 because it's really fun and it's like I really like when students find really mind blowing when they see 1+1 is not 2, it's 0. It's like I really like that moment. So anyway, it's really fun. I don't want to spoil it for future 102 students, but I really like fields and I really like cardinality. I mean, cardinality part is like another mind-blowing chapter, I would say. Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, so.
Yeah.
Cardinality
I
is
really
much...
liked fields as well.
Sorry,
Paul.
I love
Sorry,
fields.
no, you go first.
Yeah, I liked learning fields because that's when I felt like I really learned how to write proofs, where instead of waving my hands at all, I can only use the field axioms. And so every step in my proof has to be something that I like, that's, 100% true.
Mm-hmm.
I like cardinality because, well, it's really counterintuitive. It's like you learn how.
Yeah.
Should I spoil it? I can like give you like a trailer.
Yeah.
There are different types of infinity. And stuff.
Yeah.
Like back in the day, back when like George Cantor, the mathematician, came up with this shit, he just pissed off the whole entire mathematical community.
Yeah.
Because it's like having different types of infinity is blasphemy or whatever. Anyway, it's really counterintuitive and fun, I think.
Yeah. Okay. This is our 9th question already. Why do you like this course? Anyone want to start?
Like I'm in control of the material. Like I understand everything in the material. I understand not only like what, but why as well. Like.
Yeah. I think that's mostly the reason we like proof courses in general. Because for proof courses, you are not just learning what, you're learning why, you're trying to understand the reason behind it. And it's really not like high school math. It's not like any computation courses. It's really, you really need to know your material inside out, and you really need to think about it, and well, like you have to use your brain. That's why.
Yeah, this course really teaches you how to think instead of what to think. And I think that's something unique to this course. I mean, compared to other first-year courses, most of them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I agree with all of that. Like I loved it because reflecting back, I mean, as a first year, I didn't know that. What the course taught me more than the content is mathematical thinking. And that was, when I was first year, it was like, it's just so satisfying to think a lot. You have to think a lot, but after that, when you get an answer, it's so satisfying because it like challenges your brain. And once you get it, it's a very good feeling once you understand something. And so as a first year, that was fun. That was a lot of fun. Just like challenging the brain. It's like brain teasers in a way, kind of. And for upper year courses, it's not just the content itself. The content is very important, but more than that, it also allows you to think mathematically, which is very important for both CS and math.
And one thing I'd add to that is like a lot of this material is not directly applicable to like real life, but it does teach you how to think like a problem solver, and that's important not just in math but just in general.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's really fun, I think. It's like puzzle, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, here comes our last question. Can you please provide us some general study tips for Math 102?
You guys can go first on this.
When I took the course, I like to read the course notes before the lecture. So I stayed on top of the lecture, and I think it helped me a lot because in university math, a lot of the time the professors go really fast. They have to meet the syllabus deadlines, so they go really fast, and you don't absorb the material during lecture. So the options are to either read it after lecture or before lecture. I prefer before lecture just so I can make the most out of the lecture. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's just like skimming the book, it helps, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, as Pop says, I think you should go over your either course notes or the lecture notes, either before the lecture or after the lecture, but it's really important to go over that, especially if it's after the lecture when you try to study or review for the concept. It's really important that you don't move on to the next concept before you fully understand this specific topic. I think it's the same thing for all the other math courses, because like in the later material actually it's like building on top of what you are doing right now. If you don't understand what you are doing now, it's gonna be really hard for you like for later time. Also, when you study for your quiz or your test, your exam, I suggest you to redo the lecture examples, tutorial activities or questions, and problem set questions first before you know, move on to the new questions, do a lot of questions, because those questions are basically given by the professor who's making your quizzes and tests, so it can give you a better idea of what your quiz question or test question is going to be look like. Also, I think another thing that's really important is that you don't check the solution before you get stuck on this question for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, they have a look at the question, tried it for 10 minutes, and then they give up, and then they search the solution or they look at the solution. I would say give it a try for at least few days or even a week or two. It's really important to do that because understanding the solution is actually easy. The hard part is to come up with a proof. So if you really need to train your brain to think logically and mathematically, so that you can build some intuition, as I mentioned before. But if you're getting used to check solutions and on a test or a quiz, you see a new question that you've never seen before, you might actually freak out because like you're like now you have no solution to check, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But as well, I do think checking the solution is important as well. So after you finish the question, it's really important to go over the solution. Like as Daria mentioned before, if you don't check, you don't even know if what you did is correct. It might be completely wrong and you move on for the next question. You spend like 10 hours on doing 102 questions, but every single question you worked on was wrong. Then there's like, it's not helpful at all. Sorry, it's my cat. I don't know what it
Uh-oh,
What is
face
he
reveal.
doing?
Anyway, I do suggest you to read the proofs in the course notes and also the quiz solution, problem set solution, and think about how you can improve your proof, and think about how did the professor or the TA come up with the proof. It could be really helpful sometimes. And another thing I really want to mention is do not cheat. Since I'm grading your a problem set right now, it's for your own good. It's really for your own good. You might get away from it right now, but the consequences is that you'll suffer. You'll definitely suffer later. Because if you don't understand the material now, especially it's a first year course, you'll definitely suffer in upper year courses.
You're gonna have a bad time.
Paul, I just realized you
Go
changed
ahead,
your
guys.
filter.
I'm gonna check on my cat. So go ahead, give them more study tips.
Anyway, so the textbook doesn't have. Sorry, the notes don't have solutions to the exercises. So again, like if you want solutions, like come to office hours and we can check over.
Yeah, I cannot stress how important office hours are. I think we already mentioned it over different questions, but office hours are like a great resource, which is unfortunately not used enough, I feel. Because one, you can, even if you just want to go over a concept or you want a TA or prof to check your solution, sometimes, okay, I don't know how this will work online, but in person, I used to sometimes go for office hours before tests just to see what questions others have, and that usually helped me too. So I feel like spending that time with profs or TAs is very helpful. And as I said, it's underutilized. When I was a 102 student, I used to go to see my TA every week. My TA probably was annoyed at the number of questions that I asked. But okay, actually no. As a TA, I don't get annoyed when students ask me doubts. I am very happy to see students who are working through the questions and having doubts, because that means you are putting in the effort. We want you to do well when we see that. So yeah, please do that. We are here for that. That is our job. So please use that resource.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that I want to mention is that I think doing a lot of questions might actually, I don't know, might actually have some bad side about it. Because sometimes people, they just feel like, oh, I found the pattern of this, so I'm just gonna use it every time. But sometimes you really need to think outside of a box. So I do think practice is really good, but it's more about quality, not quantity.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important that you fully understand what you're doing. You actually know what you're doing. Just don't do questions with no brain. That's not going to be helpful for proof courses in general. That might be helpful for computation course, but not in proof. Definitely not in proof.
Yeah.
Always do the questions from the end of the chapter. Those tend to be a little harder, and I think doing 2 of those is better than doing 10 of the easy ones.
Anything else you guys want to mention?
Well, you guys summed it up pretty well in terms of study tips.
All right, so that is the end of this video. Later, I will try to invite more TAs, more math TAs and CS TAs, talk about general study tips for math courses, CS courses, and probably we'll see if we want to do stats courses as well. And probably Dara can talk about biology courses as well. We'll see. But math and CS are definitely coming up, so yeah, we'll see. Anyway, see you guys.
Bye guys.
Bye.